Most people think karma means a brick falling on your head, right after you ripped off the cashier at the store. But what if I told you that is the single biggest misunderstanding of karma out there? Most people treat it like some kind of cosmic boomerang of instant revenge. You do bad, you get hit back. But that is an incredibly primitive take on one of the deepest and most elegant concepts in the history of human thought. In this video, we're going to dive into what karma truly means by looking directly at the source texts, Hinduism and Buddhism. And I promise you, by the end of this, you'll understand why karma isn't about punishment at all. It's about ultimate freedom and unlimited responsibility. Quick side note, drop a comment below right now and let me know if you believe in karma. I'm genuinely curious to see how your perspective changes after you watch this. So, let's start at the very beginning. Where does this word even originate? The word karma comes from the ancient language Sanskrit, and its direct translation is profoundly simple. Action. Not retribution, not destiny, not fate, not punishment, just action or deed. This concept originated in ancient India long before Hinduism and Buddhism crystallized into the formal religions we recognize today. It was the ancient sages' attempt to explain why the world works the way it does. Why are some born into wealth and others into poverty? Why are some blessed with health while others suffer from chronic ailments? Instead of attributing everything to the whims of capricious deities, they proposed a genius idea. The universe is governed not by chaos, but by a universal impersonal law of cause and effect. Every single action, like a stone dropped into water, creates ripples of consequences that spread outward across time and space. And that law, that cosmic mechanism, is what they named karma. This was a revolutionary shift away from relying on external forces and toward the powerful realization that we, through our actions, are the architects of our own reality. In Hinduism, karma is a fundamental law, one as absolute and unshakable as the law of gravity. It is completely impersonal. Karma plays no favorites and holds no grudges. It doesn't get angry with you or try to punish you. It simply functions. Imagine a billiard table. When you strike one ball with a cue stick, it travels across the table and hits a second ball. The second ball moves not because the first ball punished it, but because that is the immutable law of physics. Karma operates in the exact same manner. Every action you take, be it physical, verbal, or even mental, is that strike of the cue. That strike initiates a chain of events that sooner or later must return to its source, you. This isn't magic or mysticism. It's a complex system of universal balance. If you sow apple seeds, you don't expect to harvest pine trees. Likewise, when you perform actions fueled by anger and selfishness, you are actively creating the conditions for future suffering. Conversely, actions motivated by compassion and generosity lay the absolute foundation for future happiness. To make this profound concept easier to grasp, Hindu sages divided karma into three essential categories. Imagine a vast barn belonging to a seasoned farmer. This barn is filled to the brim with grain, the harvest collected over countless growing seasons. This immense stockpile represents sanchita karma, the colossal storage of all your actions accumulated throughout every past life. The second type is prarabdha karma. This is the grain the farmer pulls out of the barn, just a few bags, ready to be sown this current year. Prarabdha is the portion of your past karma that has ripened and is bearing fruit right now, in this very lifetime. It dictates the circumstances of your birth, your baseline health, inherent talents, and major life challenges. Crucially, you cannot cancel it. The farmer must sow the seeds he has already taken out. And finally, the third type is kriyamana karma. These are the actions you are performing this very moment. Every decision you make, every single deed, is a new seed, one that you are either adding back into the barn or actively sowing for the future harvest. And this is where your true power lies. You cannot change the past storehouse, but you're in complete control of the present moment, thereby crafting your future karma. Now let's link the concept of karma with another cornerstone of Hindu philosophy, reincarnation, or samsara. Samsara is defined as the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, and it is karma that serves as the driving force behind this cycle. According to Hindu teachings, within us resides an eternal, unchanging fragment of the divine, the Atman, or the true self. When the physical body dies, the Atman does not simply vanish. Instead, it journeys like a traveller, moving into a new body and carrying with it the entire accumulated karmic baggage from its previous existences. Picture a student who has failed a crucial exam. They must return and take the exact same course again the following year. In the same way, the soul, weighed down by unresolved desires, attachments, and the consequences of its actions, is compelled to return to the material world repeatedly to master its necessary lessons. Each new life is essentially a new class, a new set of conditions tailored by your past karma. It is your opportunity to settle old karmic debts and create positive new causes for the future. But how do we know which actions create good karma and which ones create bad? This is where another crucial concept comes into play: dharma. Dharma is often translated as duty, purpose, or the essential nature of things. Everything in the universe has its own specific dharma. The dharma of fire is to burn and provide warmth. The dharma of water is to flow and quench thirst. Humans also have their own dharma, which depends on their position in society, age, and profession. It's not merely a set of rules, it's about following your true nature. And here is the key: an action performed in alignment with one's dharma is considered right and generates positive karma. An action against dharma creates negative karma. The clearest example comes from the sacred text, the Bhagavad Gita, specifically the story of the warrior Arjuna. He stands on the battlefield and refuses to fight because his own relatives and teachers are arrayed on the opposing side. But the god Krishna explains to him that his dharma as a warrior is to fight for righteousness. Shirking his duty, Krishna argues, will bring far worse karmic consequences than the battle itself. If samsara is truly the endless cycle, isn't there a way to break free? Yes, and that possibility is called moksha, or liberation. Moksha is considered the ultimate goal of human life in Hinduism. It is the complete cessation of the cycle of rebirths and the merging of the individual Atman, the self, with the ultimate reality, Brahman. How is this achieved? By exhausting all your accumulated karma. Picture it like having a massive financial debt that forces you into a job you hate for your entire life. Moksha is that moment you pay off the very last penny and become completely free. In Hinduism, it is believed that moksha can be reached through three primary paths, or yogas: the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, the path of selfless action, Karma Yoga, and the path of devotion to God, Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga is particularly interesting. It teaches us to act in accordance with our dharma, righteous duty, but without attachment to the results of those actions. You simply do what you must, without expecting reward or praise. These actions, performed without selfish motives, do not create new karma and help burn off the old, gradually bringing a person closer to final liberation. Now let's turn our attention to the world of Buddhism. Though it arose on the very same Indian subcontinent, it approached the concept of karma from a radically different perspective. The Buddha certainly built upon the established doctrine of karma, but he introduced one revolutionary clarification that fundamentally altered its meaning. He famously declared, "Monks, it is intention, Caitana, that I call karma. Having formed the intention, a person acts by way of body, speech, and mind." This is the crucial distinction. In the Buddhist view, the primary significance lies not in the action itself, but in the underlying motive. Consider two distinct scenarios. In the first, you are walking down the street and accidentally step on an ant without realizing it. In the second, you spot the ant and intentionally crush it, perhaps driven by anger or malice. From an objective, external standpoint, the result is identical. The ant is dead. But when viewed through the lens of karma, these are two completely different acts. In the first instance, the karmic consequence is minimal, if not entirely absent. In the second case, however, because the action was driven by the specific intention to cause harm, a significant amount of negative karma is generated. This insight decisively shifts the focus away from external rituals and rigid rules, placing the emphasis instead on the individual's inner world, on their thoughts, motives, and mental states. Buddhism frequently challenges a common misconception that karma is the same as destiny or fate. Many people assume, well, if this is my karma, I just have to deal with it and suffer. This couldn't be further from the truth. Karma is not a pre-written script for your life that you are powerless to change. On the contrary, it is the most dynamic and flexible law in the entire universe. It operates not in the past, but entirely in the present moment. Every second, with every choice, and with every thought, you are actively creating your karma. Imagine yourself as the captain of a ship on the open ocean. Yes, there are currents and winds. That is your past karma, often called prarabdha. These certainly influence your movement, but you hold the ship's wheel that represents your free will and your present actions, or kriyamana. You can either passively drift along, complaining about your predetermined fate, or you can actively work the wheel, charting a new course and harnessing the winds to your advantage. Buddhism teaches us that we are not victims of our karma, but its true creators. We are moulding our future in every single moment. Now we arrive at what is arguably the most complex, but also the most fascinating point, the fundamental difference between the Buddhist and Hindu perspectives. We've discussed how Hinduism holds that there is an eternal soul, the Atman, which journeys from life to life. Buddha, however, proposed the doctrine of anatta, or non-self. He asserted that there is no unchanging eternal essence that we can truly call I or self. Instead, what we perceive as the self is merely a temporary combination of 5 aggregates: physical form, sensations, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. So if there is no soul to carry karma, what exactly is it that is reborn? Buddhism's answer is brilliant. It is not a substance that is reborn, but a process. Imagine lighting one candle from the flame of another. Is the flame on the second candle the same as the first or different? It is not exactly the same, yet it is not entirely different either. It is a direct continuation of the original. Rebirth works in much the same way. Upon death, the stream of consciousness, carrying all karmic imprints, doesn't vanish. Instead, it acts as the condition for the arising of a new stream of consciousness in a new body. It is not a soul that is transferred, but the karmic energy, the impulse. Just as the ultimate goal in Hinduism is moksha, for Buddhists, that final destination is nirvana. Literally, the word nirvana means extinguishing or fading out. But what exactly is being extinguished? What fades are the 3 poisons of the mind, which are considered the root of all suffering and the driving force behind the creation of new karma. These are ignorance, the failure to understand the true nature of reality; attachment, which includes craving or desperate desire; and aversion, manifesting as anger or hatred. Picture a bonfire. As long as you keep tossing wood onto that fire, the wood representing your actions fueled by these poisons, it continues to blaze. This very fire is samsara, the endless cycle of suffering. Nirvana is the moment you stop feeding the fire. You reach a level of wisdom and deep awareness where the impulse to create new karma simply vanishes. Old karma burns down like the remaining embers, and the fire finally dies out. This is not self-annihilation. Rather, it is the attainment of absolute peace, freedom, and the cessation of all suffering. It is the definitive escape from the wheel of samsara. To gain a deeper understanding of how this mechanism operates, Buddhism offers the concept of the 12 nidanas, also known as the chain of dependent origination. This is essentially a detailed map showing exactly how we remain trapped in the cycle of samsara. Imagine 12 dominoes lined up in a row. Every single link in this chain serves as the cause for the next one to arise. It all begins with ignorance, the first domino, which gives rise to karmic formations, the second domino. These, in turn, generate consciousness, and the cycle continues through birth, aging, and death. This process ultimately leads right back to ignorance, resetting the entire chain. Karma acts as one of the key links here, binding one life to the next. This doctrine shows us that absolutely nothing arises out of nowhere. Everything has a cause. And by truly understanding how this chain functions, we can find the way to break it, by eliminating the very first link, ignorance, through the diligent use of wisdom and practice. Let's dive into some of the most popular myths surrounding karma. Myth number 1, instant karma. We've all seen those viral clips. The thief who trips and faceplants right after the robbery, and everyone screams, "That's instant karma!" While such coincidences do happen, that's fundamentally not how karma works. Karma is less like a game of ping pong and much more like agriculture. When you plant a seed, you don't expect a giant, fruit-bearing tree to pop up the very next morning, do you? Of course not. The seed needs time to germinate, strengthen, grow, and finally bear fruit. Some seeds sprout quickly, while others take years. It's exactly the same with karma. The consequences of certain actions might manifest fast, but the majority of karmic seeds take a very long time to ripen. Perhaps not even in this lifetime, but in the next. That's why you shouldn't be surprised when you see a villain seemingly prospering. They might just be reaping the rewards of their good deeds from a previous life, while the seeds of their current wickedness are only just beginning to sprout. Myth number 2, and this is the most destructive one. Karma is cosmic punishment. A lot of people picture karma as some celestial judge, holding a big ledger, just waiting for you to mess up so it can exact revenge. This completely misrepresents the entire teaching. Let's go back to the law of gravity for a second. If you step off the roof of a 10-story building, you will fall and you will get hurt. Did gravity punish you? No. Gravity is indifferent. It is simply a law of nature. You created the cause by stepping off the roof, and the natural law provided the effect, the fall. Karma works exactly the same way. The universe isn't punishing you for your misdeeds. It is simply delivering their natural consequences. The purpose of this law is not vengeance, it is learning. If you repeatedly burn yourself by touching a hot stove, you eventually internalize the lesson and stop doing it. Karma is a feedback mechanism built into the very fabric of reality that helps us learn, grow, and ultimately evolve toward a state of greater wisdom and compassion. This brings us to a crucial and frequently asked question. Why do bad things happen to good people? This is perhaps the skeptic's strongest argument. A person lives righteously their entire life, helps everyone they can, yet misfortunes continue to pile up around them. How can we possibly explain this within the framework of karma? The answer lies in the concept of prarabdha karma, which we have already discussed. Your current life is just one chapter in the vast book of your countless rebirths. The troubles that a good person faces today may not be the result of actions taken in this life, but rather the ripened fruit of negative deeds committed long ago in a previous lifetime. Imagine someone who eats healthily and exercises consistently throughout their life, but is suddenly diagnosed with a genetic condition. This condition doesn't negate the benefits of their current healthy lifestyle, but it is a consequence of something that was established long before they were born. It is exactly the same with karma. Our present situation is a complex cocktail, a blend of consequences inherited from past lives and the actions we are taking right now. Up until now, we've primarily focused on individual karma, but there is a much broader concept we need to explore: collective karma. We don't exist in a vacuum. We are part of a family, a nation, humanity, and the planet itself. The actions we take as a group create this shared collective karma, and the consequences are borne by every member of that group. For instance, if a government chooses to initiate an unjust war, the resulting economic, social, and moral fallout will inevitably affect all citizens, even those who vehemently oppose the decision. Another clear example is environmental degradation. The pollution of our planet is the result of collective human actions spanning many decades. Now, we are all collectively facing the consequences in the form of climate change and devastating natural disasters. This concept teaches us that we bear responsibility not just for our personal lives, but for the well-being of the entire world. Our fates are inextricably linked. So, here is the crucial question. If we carry the baggage of past karma, can we actually change it, or are we simply doomed? The answer is a definitive yes, we can. And this is truly the most encouraging part of the teaching of karma. You can't erase the past, but you absolutely can modify its influence on your present and your future. Imagine you have a glass of intensely salty water that represents your negative past karma. You cannot remove the salt from the water, but what can you do? You can start pouring clean fresh water into that glass. The more fresh water you add, the less salty the overall mixture becomes. Eventually, the salt will be so diluted that you won't even taste it. That clean water represents your current virtuous actions, acts of generosity, compassion, kindness, and the consistent practice of mindfulness and meditation. By performing positive actions, you are not cancelling out old karma. Instead, you are creating such a powerful current of positive energy that it weakens and neutralizes the consequences of past mistakes. Instead of viewing karma strictly through a religious lens, let's examine it through the framework of modern psychology. Essentially, the law of karma describes how our character and our reality are formed. The common saying is, what you do, you become. If a person constantly lies, they aren't just committing isolated acts of deception, they are actively training their mind to be deceitful. Over time, this becomes their second nature. They begin to live in a world of mistrust, constantly fearing exposure. Their entire reality becomes saturated with falsehood, even if they are never actually caught. Conversely, someone who practices generosity develops a generous mind. They start seeing opportunities to help, rather than focusing solely on opportunities for personal gain. This completely shifts their perception of the world. Karma is not an external force. It is an internal process of forming mental habits. Our repetitive actions forge neural pathways in the brain. These pathways dictate our automatic responses and ultimately shape our destiny. If intention is so vital, how exactly do we learn to govern our intentions? This is where the core Buddhist practice of mindfulness comes into play. Mindfulness is the ability to clearly observe what is happening in your mind right now, without judgment. Usually, we operate on autopilot, driven by fleeting impulses, anger, or simple desire. We often fail to even notice the true intention underlying our actions. Practicing mindfulness is like turning on a light in a dark room. You start to clearly see your thoughts and motives before they turn into words and actions. This creates a tiny gap between impulse and reaction, and in that gap, the freedom to choose is born. You might notice anger beginning to arise, and instead of yelling at someone, you make the conscious choice to react calmly. Ultimately, mindfulness serves as the primary tool for working with karma. It is the path to stop being a slave to your habits and to consciously begin creating the future you truly desire. In Buddhism, developing compassion, or karuna, is considered an especially potent way to generate positive karma. Compassion isn't just pity, it's the active wish for all living beings to be free from suffering. Why is this so crucial for our karma? Because compassion, by its very nature, acts as an antidote to the self-centeredness that fuels most negative actions. When you genuinely wish well for others, your actions automatically become wholesome. Furthermore, compassion helps us break the vicious cycle of negative reactions. Imagine someone acts aggressively toward you. The standard reaction is to retaliate, which creates negative karma for both parties. But if you can respond with compassion, understanding that this person is likely suffering themselves, you not only avoid creating new negative karma, but you also sow the seeds of goodness. This is an incredibly powerful practice that transforms both yourself and the world around you. It's fascinating to compare the concept of karma with the Western system of justice. At first glance, they seem similar. Commit a crime, face the consequences, but their ultimate goals and underlying mechanisms are fundamentally different. Western justice is primarily retributive, focused on vengeance and isolating the offender from society. It is concerned solely with the external action. Karma, however, isn't concerned with punishment. Its true focus is on learning and spiritual growth. It focuses instead on a person's inner state, on their intention and mindset. Imagine a thief is caught and imprisoned. From the law's perspective, justice has been served. But from the perspective of karma, if that thief remains full of hatred and greed while incarcerated, he continues to generate negative karma, and his internal suffering is only magnified. Conversely, another individual might commit a wrong act and avoid legal prosecution, yet sincerely repent and fundamentally change their life. Their karmic debt will be significantly reduced. Karma, ultimately, is not about societal rules. It's about the natural, inherent laws of the mind and the universe itself. So, what is the ultimate takeaway here? Karma is not some terrifying mystical force hunting you down to punish you. It is the single most empowering, the most inspirational law in the entire universe. It tells us one simple yet profound truth. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the creator of your reality. Your future is not predetermined by the stars or by the gods. It rests right here, in your hands, in your thoughts, your words, and the actions you take in this very moment. The law of karma is a powerful call for 100% responsibility over your life. It means stopping the habit of blaming others, the world, or fate for your struggles, and fully realizing that you possess all the power needed to change your life for the better. We are all sculptors, and our actions are the chisel we use every day to carve the statue of our life from a rough, unshaped block of marble. And the final form of that statue depends entirely on us. Now that's a serious plot twist, isn't it? It turns out karma isn't about punishment, it's about learning. It's not destiny, but a powerful tool for shaping your own reality. And most importantly, the intention behind an action can be more significant than the action itself. This completely changes the rules of the game. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the grain silo example in Hinduism to the single candle flame illustration in Buddhism. We debunk the myth of instant retribution and realize that even so-called bad karma can be diluted or softened by good deeds. The crucial message to take away is this: we are making a choice every single moment. And that choice, guided by our genuine intentions, is the exact mechanism that creates our tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. If you learned something new and useful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next deep dives. Now for the main question for you: has your view on karma changed after watching this? And which of the examples, the farmer and the grain, or the lit candle, did you find the clearest? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts.